To heavy rains and flooding. But what exactly do you need for it to be effective? Tyler Lyer from Aero Service Team is here to tell us. Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think I have to just start off the bat from last week's thunderstorms, right? The rain came down. Did you have a lot of calls for flooding at that? Or just because it was so fast and furious, you know, it didn't matter too much? Or the sump pumps were working?
So yeah, a little both.
Yeah,
We've seen some real high wind activity that took some roofs off and sheathing off of some houses where we got rain coming into attics. And then we also seen, issues with sump pump failures and high water tables affecting basements and homes. So that's why I look back, it was about a year ago we did this topic, and now we're kind of back into storm season again, and I thought it'd be something good to cover.
And something you mentioned there too, a lot of people lost electricity, right? And the sump pump is powered by electric, right? So did that have a little bit of impact? Is there a backup we can have with these?
So that's a great question, right? So we've got just a basic pump in front of us here, and we can kind of see this is just a cheap pump from a box store here in town. We've got water coming in the bottom and discharging out the top. There's normally going to be something on here called the check valve, so that water won't go back down and drain back in. And then this float here, which needs to be cleared inside the pit, is the activation when it gets to a certain level that will kick on and discharge that water. So yes, to your question, battery backup is possible, and you definitely want to make sure that you got a dedicated circuit for this pump, so it doesn't put too much power and strain the panel, and then the breaker will kick off.
Okay, yeah, so it's all super, super important. One thing that you told me here was like, I don't think my house has a sump pump, and I guess that's right. It's an older house, but it's code now, so every house has to.
Yeah, so code changed 20 some years ago. So new construction, you're going to see a continuous drain tile system that's going to go into a pit. That's where this pump's going to be located, and that's going to go out and discharge out of the house and hopefully away from the house and not towards the neighbors.
Yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, right?
That's right.
And so what is the effectiveness of these? Or is one size fits all too, or is they're all different?
So it's all a system, right? So when it's tied together with the drain tile system, it's just going to keep that water table down, which is going to keep moisture down out of the concrete, or at least lessen the concrete. It's going to make the home feel less humidity, less chance of mold or mildew, better air quality, a lot of different things that this is going to help with in the long term. But also ultimately it's going to help keep the costs down for something in a rain event where it's going to flood that basement out.
Would this be part of the reason, like every once in a while I'm sure you go into a basement and it smells a little moldy? Is this part of the problem, whether it's a sump pump home or not, or whether it's working or not really?
Yeah, that can be a combination of things, right? You've probably got some high humidity. You maybe had water in that basement before. Now maybe we've got some hidden mold growth behind walls or things like that. And now what you're smelling is the off-gassing of that mustiness of mold potentially growing or feeding on some of the organic materials.
And creating that, does that cause any structural issues in any way? If water's still sitting there, or, go ahead.
So long term it can, right? You can see rot and things on plates and walls to start failing. Also even the concrete can start to get too much moisture and it'll start to fail over time. So it can be a very effective unit to have, and in conjunction with the system in a home, new, or you can put them into older homes as well.
Oh, you can. Okay, you don't need a pit for it, or you have to install something else.
Yes. So
a little more complicated.
The process for getting that in is complicated. A lot of demolition to get the system put in and installed, but people are going through those in areas where there's just high water tables and issues in the city. So.
Yeah, and one storm can do it, as we learned last year with the rainstorm that had 6-7 inches. We know you had a lot of calls after that one.
Right.
Yeah. And so are insurance claims filed after these at all, or how does that work with insurance?
So that's a great question. Basically, you'd have to check with your carrier. Everyone's different, and then they've got limitations, right? You have to take out a special policy usually, or a special portion of your policy on your insurance to get coverage on a sump pump failure or backup, and then it's got a limitation. So it can be anywhere from 5, I think, up to about 25,000, which many times with the way things have gone with materials and what can be salvaged and the finishes in your home, most times is not enough.
Yeah. It's better to prevent it all with one of these, right, than not having one at all.
That's right.
For more information, where can we find more about Aero Service Team?
Check us out online at aeroserviceteam.com, or get a hold of us there at 223-9249.
Just a real quick question. How much does one of these cost just alone? They're very inexpensive,
Couple
right?
$100.
Yeah, beats the 10 grand for flooding.
There you go.
Thank you, Tyler.